The big block V8 is one of the most celebrated creations in automotive history. These engines were not designed to be subtle or economical. They were built to dominate the road and racetrack with brute force. From the 1960s muscle car wars to special racing homologation programs, manufacturers have created some truly legendary big block engines. However, among the hundreds of V8 designs over the decades, a select few stand out as incredibly rare. These engines are so uncommon that even seasoned collectors may never see one in person. Today, we will look at 8 of the rarest big block V8 engines ever made, each with its own fascinating story. 1. Chevrolet ZL1427. The ZL1427 is perhaps the most famous rare big block ever produced, developed in the late 1960s. It was an all-aluminum version of Chevrolet's already powerful L88 427 engine. The ZL1 was created primarily for racing, with weight savings being a top priority. It produced well over 500 horsepower in stock form, despite being officially rated at a much lower figure for insurance and regulatory reasons. Only a handful of ZL1 engines were installed in production cars, most notably in the ultra-rare 1969 Camaro ZL1, of which only 69 units were made. Others went to racers and private builders. Its combination of lightweight, massive displacement, and raw power made it a nearly unbeatable drag strip weapon. Today, finding a genuine ZL1 engine is almost impossible, and when one appears for sale, it commands astronomical prices. 2. Chrysler Hemi 426. Street Hemi early production. The 426 Hemi is legendary in muscle car circles, but the earliest street versions are incredibly rare. First released in 1966 for public sale after dominating NASCAR in race form, the Street Hemi featured dual 4-barrel carburetors, 425 advertised horsepower, and an unmistakable deep growl. Chrysler built fewer than 2 400 Street Hemi cars in 1966, making engines from that first year highly collectible. These early production engines were hand-assembled with extreme precision, and their durability in both drag racing and stock car racing gave them mythical status. Many early Hemis were destroyed in competition, which makes surviving examples even rarer. Collectors pay huge premiums for original first-year Street Hemis with matching numbers, and the engines alone are considered treasures in the Mopar community. 3. Ford 427 SOHC Camry. The Ford 427 SOHC, nicknamed the Camry, is one of the most fascinating engines ever produced. Developed in the mid-1960s to dominate NASCAR, it featured single overhead camshafts for each cylinder bank, a radical departure from traditional pushrod V8 design at the time. The Camry was based on Ford's FE Series 427 block, but heavily modified with hemispherical combustion chambers and high-flow heads. It could produce more than 600 horsepower in race tune. Unfortunately for Ford, NASCAR banned the engine before it ever competed, fearing it would make all other engines obsolete. This left the Camry primarily in the hands of drag racers, where it became a feared competitor. Only a limited number were built, and genuine 427 Camrys are now some of the most valuable Ford engines in existence. 4. Pontiac 455 Super Duty. Pontiac's 455 Super Duty engine, introduced in the early 1970s, was one of the last true high-performance big blocks of the muscle car era. Designed during a time of tightening emissions regulations, the Super Duty was essentially a racing engine adapted for street use. It featured reinforced internals, unique cylinder heads, a high-flow intake, and heavy-duty connecting rods. The official output was 310 horsepower in the Firebird Trans Am and formula, but the real number was much higher. Due to new government restrictions and changing market conditions, production was extremely limited. Fewer than 300 cars received the 455 Super Duty, and the engines themselves are prized by Pontiac enthusiasts for their strength and tuning potential. Finding one today is a rare and expensive opportunity. 5. Buick Stage 1 455. Buick Stage 1 455 big block from the early 1970s was a quiet killer in the muscle car world. On paper, it produced 360 horsepower, but in reality, it delivered far more thanks to aggressive cam profiles, high-flow heads, and massive torque out. What made the Stage 1 455 so special was that it appeared in cars like the Buick GSX, luxury-oriented muscle cars that could still dominate a drag race. Production numbers were small compared to Chevrolet or Pontiac big blocks, making these engines rare today. Buick enthusiasts know that a genuine Stage 1 455 is more than just a collector's item. It is one of the most underrated performance powerplants of its time, capable of stunning acceleration despite Buick's reputation for comfort and refinement. 6. Oldsmobile 455Ws. The Oldsmobile 455W thoroughly was the pinnacle of Oldsmobile performance in the early 1970s. Featuring a high-compression big block V8 with special heads, a unique camshaft, and a lightweight aluminum intake manifold, the W30 was built for speed. Official horsepower ratings were kept modest for insurance purposes, but the real performance was staggering. The W30 package was available in the 442 model, and production numbers were low, making both the cars and their engines highly collectible. Many of these engines were raced hard, and few survive in untouched condition. The W30 big block represents Oldsmobile's peak engineering achievement before emissions rules and fuel economy demands ended the era of high-compression muscle. 7. Mopar 446-pack. A 6-barrel special production. Chrysler's 446-pack, or 6-barrel in Plymouth models, was a street terror thanks to its 222 barrel carburetor setup. While the standard 440 was already powerful, the six-pack version delivered even more torque and responsiveness. Special high-performance versions were produced for limited models like the Dodge Super B A12 and the Plymouth Roadrunner A12 in 1969, featuring fiberglass hoods, heavy-duty internals, and drag race gearing. These special production engines are incredibly rare because they were built for one purpose: to win on the strip. Surviving original six-pack engines, especially those from the A12 package cars, are prized by collectors and can fetch huge prices at auction. 8. Chevrolet LS7 454 over. The counter-race engine, the Chevrolet LS7 454 Big Block, was never installed in a production car, which is part of what makes it so rare. Offered through Chevrolet's parts program in the early 1970s, the LS7 was a fully assembled racing engine with a factory, rated for 65 horsepower, though it actually made much more. It was essentially a bored-and-stroked LS6 454, with upgraded internals, designed for drag racing and other high-performance applications. Because it was never offered in a street, legal vehicle, only a small number were built, and most were raced until they were destroyed. Finding an untouched LS7 today is nearly impossible, and it remains one of Chevrolet's most mysterious and desirable big block engines. 9. Bonus point: had Mercury 427 Marauder Super Cyclone. While the Ford FE series engines are well known, the Mercury 427 Marauder Super Cyclone is a hidden gem in the muscle car world. Built in extremely small numbers during the mid-1960s, this big block was essentially a hand-picked, high-performance variant of the 427 FE, but with Mercury branding and specific tuning for racing. It featured high riser heads, a forged steel crankshaft, and dual 4-barrel carburetors, making it a powerhouse on both the drag strip and NASCAR track. Mercury used the engine in select models like the lightweight S55 and Comet Drag Specials, but production was extremely limited due to cost and the brand's smaller performance audience. Surviving examples are rarely seen outside of private collections, and a genuine Marauder Super Cyclone engine is considered a once-in-a-lifetime find for Ford and Mercury enthusiasts. Now, let us pause for a moment and think about what makes these engines so special. It is not just the displacement or horsepower figures. It is the stories behind their creation, the racing rivalries, the technological breakthroughs, and the way they defined an era of automotive performance. Many were born out of competition, where manufacturers pushed boundaries to win on the track, and others were the result of enthusiasts demanding more power on the street. The rarity of these engines means that each surviving example is more than just a mechanical assembly. It is a historical artifact. Collectors and restorers go to extreme lengths to track down original parts, sometimes spending years piecing together an authentic example. For those lucky enough to own one, the value goes far beyond money. It is about preserving a piece of automotive history that can never be replicated. As emissions regulations, fuel prices, and market demands changed, the days of massive big block V8s faded. Yet their legend continues to grow. Car shows, auctions, and enthusiast gatherings still celebrate these engines, and every time one roars to life, it is a reminder of a time when power was king and engineers were free to push limits without compromise. If you enjoyed exploring these rare big block V8 engines, make sure to check out our next video, where we dive into the most powerful small block V8s ever made, engines that proved you do not need massive displacement to achieve incredible performance.